Hello and welcome to the Foundry Roundtable, the podcast exclusively covering the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your tame Foundry author, Dragon1701, who forgot to ask what episode number this is, but now that the title thing has come up, I can see it's episode 182. And I'm going to say at the top of the show here that I am also in the middle of a blizzard, and I think possibly the town might be having some power issues, so if I suddenly go offline, that's what's going on. Or at least I hope that's what's going on, and it's not something serious with my computer.
Or it's not,
who needs that?
The secret council from last week throwing a coup and, taking power again.
Or, the Foundry cabal booting me out. I didn't make my goat sacrifice this week, so they might boot me out.
You've been sacrificing goats. Well, there's your problem. You're supposed to sacrifice lockbox ships.
Oh, that's what it is. So with me are three guys who are probably not watching the big sports ball games today. DuncanIdaho, Greendragoon, and Markhawkman.
There is a sports ball thing?
The NFL playoffs.
There's always sports ball.
There's always sports ball. Almost always.
It's just I don't usually pay attention to it.
I only follow the local sports because I have to for my job. So anything above 2-year college, I don't care. But anyway, we got lots of news because is the anniversary event is coming up starting on Tuesday, and we have a whole bunch of stuff coming for it. Not the least exciting of which is the anniversary ship, which I'm very excited about because it's a Bajoran ship. How cool is that?
It's kind of interesting because the Bajorans from Stowe lore have always been Federation members in the Stowe timeline. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they're letting the KDF use is kind of a big deal.
Well, of course, the design comes from back in Deep Space Nine. It was used in a couple different places. It was used as like atmospheric fighters, basically, the first time.
Relatively small craft, like frigate-sized craft or smaller.
And then they used it again, like way back in like season 7 when Colonel Kira was facing off with the Romulans. She had one of these ships, and it looked maybe a little bit bigger in that case.
Well, one of the most hilarious comments I saw on the forum about this is someone looked at it and it's like, why on earth did Cryptic build such a boring ship design? And people are like, this is something they lifted from the TV show, right?
It's canon. My favorite was I saw a comment on Reddit that says, "Oh great, they're making our Stowe look like Stargate." I can see there's a little bit of Death Glider in there. Although the funny part is Deep Space Nine and that design predate Stargate SG-1 by like a year. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm excited to have that ship because obviously we have not had a specifically Bajoran ship before now.
This is true. Very true.
And the thing about ships, as I always say, is that it's the one thing that we get more updates on regularly than anything else in the Foundry. So, the possibility exists that this will make it into the Foundry sometime soon. Mm-hmm. Which would be fantastic for anyone who's ever built a ship or, built a mission with Bajorans in it and they wanted to have a ship in there.
You don't have to use any of the
generic stuff.
The interesting thing, though, is that there doesn't exist a large, distinctively Bajoran ship design yet. So maybe we'll get one, maybe not.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, in the show, the ship is only a little larger than a runabout, right?
I think it's about the size of Defiant.
It depends on which episode you're watching.
Oh,
oh, right.
That's what I was alluding to earlier, is that they used it different times, and it looked different sizes depending on which episode it was in.
It's like when you attempt to compare the size of the Galaxy-class ship to the size of the Deep Space Nine station itself. Depending on which episode you look at, there are wildly different sizes.
And that applies for a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the only time that they and you know, maybe it was intentional. Maybe they said, well, let's just reuse this design and we'll just say it's a bigger version.
Mm. Yeah, and of course, Star Trek Online, has minimum size requirements for ships, so it'll be an optimum size for all possible interests.
Well, and the funny thing is, when you're taking something from a TV show into a game setting, is you have to quantify a lot more things. Like you have to make an exact size for it.
Yes.
In a TV show, you don't have to worry about that. It's always like to say is, show balance does not equal game balance. A phaser in a game has to be balanced for a certain, and it always has to be that way. In the show, it can just do whatever you need it to do.
Especially with physical models.
As Jim Michael Straczynski put it, when someone asked him how fast a Star Fury can fly, he said that they move at the speed of plot.
Exactly.
Yeah, and with the the old use of miniatures too, it's just the scale of two ships together, just depending on how they put those together in a composite shot. Mm-hmm. Whereas with computer animation, I mean, you got two physical models, you can scale those a little bit more exactly. So especially with the older DS9, TNG, and TOS era, well, more TNG and DS9 because you saw ships together a lot more. Yeah, scale varied a lot, and that applies to Galaxy class, Defiant class. Yeah, just about everything.
Mm-hmm. My personal favorite is the Earth space dock style space station.
Oh yeah.
In which the Enterprise, the original Enterprise entering the doors looked exactly the same size as the Enterprise D entering the doors.
Yeah, so they just started building much bigger versions of that for other spaces.
That is actually very interesting because it is actually specifically stated when see those two stations that they are not the same station, and they're in fact not even in the same solar system.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
That's how you can explain it away.
But it's
of course the real version is that clearly the Enterprise D model was built to exactly the same size as the old Enterprise version.
Yeah. So they just took the same establishing shot.
Downside of models, perhaps.
I mean, they composite models together, so they don't have to make them the same size. So they'll do a shot with the Enterprise, but then they'll do a different shot with the space station, and then they'll composite it together. So it's not like the model has to physically fit through the doors. It's just however they scale it in composite.
Yeah.
So let's see. I did hear a comment in one of the 10 Forward Weeklies that the anniversary ship was going to feature heavily in the, or maybe not heavily, but will be in the anniversary episode that we have coming up, in which old Geordi and Martok are going to team up, and we're going to have our final confrontation with the Zenkethi.
Didn't they kind of sort of hint that a Bajoran colony world was going to be on the Zenkethi's hit list?
Maybe that's why.
Possibly.
I didn't hear that one, but
no,
I may have misunderstood something, but I was thinking that was the reason why the ship would be in the episode. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean,
we're in the right area of space for sure.
Yeah, and keep in mind for most of the 10 Forward Weekly discussion, it basically boils down to showing showing a certain dragon, saying we don't talk about upcoming content. So. I don't think there's been real big hints about what's coming up except for finishing the Zenkethi arc. Most of the news, the details are going to be coming through the recent blogs.
Yeah, well, anyways.
Which it launches on Tuesday, so.
I'm actually wondering if this end to the Zenkethi conflict is really just going to be surprise, it was really the Iconians, and now we have to go fight them again.
It's not going to be that.
No.
The basic idea is that it would be a very, very indirect sort of thing, because you have the Dranzuli, who we don't know what they are actually, but they seem like the sort of thing that might have been created by an Iconian servitor race as a living weapon, maybe.
Cryptic from what they've said in the past, we can be pretty sure that they're not going to go into the route of another Iconian plot, because they said that they wouldn't do another Iconian style build-up or villain. So it's probably going to be something to do with the Dranzuli, and we're going to be moving into whatever is behind that in more detail.
But basically, instead of fighting the Tsinkethi, we're now going to go shoot Dranzuli.
Yeah, and whoever's associated with that, which was what the last lore blog was hinting at.
Yeah, the lore blog basically said that the race that created the Dranzuli was going to be seen in person soon. Yeah,
so the screenshot, though, that was associated with that, though, was, that wasn't Iconian. That new large art asset.
Dragoon, why don't you find that screenshot and put it up on the stream? I'm curious.
I'm just kind of surprised, though.
I didn't think I had seen that. So,
yeah. Are we talking about the thing I remember seeing is one of the mech ground maps with a few buildings on it.
Yeah, they're using a mech ground map, default lighting from the Foundry, except, though, there is an asset on there that we don't have. That's not part of a mech map.
Yes, the Spire. That is interesting.
That is an interesting looking thing.
I just thought of something. The lore blog mentioned something or other about spaceships bursting through the surface of the ground. Maybe this is a picture of that, because you see what looks like a plume of smoke around the base of that spire. So maybe that's supposed to be a starship taking off.
Yeah, so we're probably going to be getting into what the Dranzuli represent, which could just be basically something associated with these seed ships being located on various planets. So we'll see what goes on, but this is probably where we're going to be going for the next release into the summer.
Yeah, because they could essentially introduce a new villain here and then carry on with a new arc involving them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it certainly looks like it could be a villain.
I'll be a little surprised if they go that route, just because they seem to be going all Dominion focused for the expansion here this summer.
Yeah.
Still not for a couple of months.
Well, the question is going to be, what are we going to be doing? What gets us into the Gamma Quadrant? And if it's just the Dominion attack again, I mean,
that's dumb.
It's happened before, so
yeah, I think there's going to be additional complication, and we're going to get into that complication.
They've foreshadowed us having the Dominion as allies, so it makes more sense for this to be more of a mutual aggression sort of thing. It's like the Dominion's like, okay, these things are annoying us. Please help us kill them.
And it makes absolute sense that the Dominion would be our allies in this sort of time frame. The kinder, gentler Dominion with Odo at the helm.
And it would nicely follow up the 2800 arc.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll see what goes on with this.
We could even have the female founder show up again.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and Loris. I want Loris more. Although I'm not sure if the voice actor for Loris is going to be available.
Unfortunately, some of those voice actors that they used back in the day, they can't use anymore because they're affiliated with the Screen Actors Guild. So
that's what I was thinking about.
That's why we can't have some of the Enterprise E or the Enterprise F crew back,
and the some of the members of the Romulan flagship,
and no new Kurland here.
Nope, and we also can't get any more Zero Dance voices.
If I remember right, though, they are allowed to reuse audio clips that they already created.
They can't.
The rule is actually focused on if they pay someone to record something new.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say at one time they mentioned that they've got a limited use number of uses that they can go non-SAG per contract or something.
Yeah.
I think I remember hearing that. Yeah.
But they have to use it very.
They're probably going to use for something special.
Yeah, they have to use it very discerningly.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the other big news that we have coming on Tuesday is something that a lot of us are very excited about: the Discovery Lockbox.
Yay!
Yay! So it's got the Crossfield class, which is the USS Discovery, and it's got the Walker class in the Lobi store, which is the Senjo, and the Klingon sarcophagus ship.
Yes. And
I'm very excited about all three of them, personally.
I'm most excited
also,
about the...
well, each of them has a unique console and a unique starship trait. Those consoles and starship traits will not be faction specific and will be obtainable by both factions. So,
well, they've done that for all previous or most previous Lockbox ships. They do the cross faction. Well, yeah, they do the cross faction, both with the boxes and with the mastery trait and with the consoles. So yeah. The one thing to note here is that there isn't a specific Romulan ship, but Romulan players can use Alliance appropriate variants. So if you want a Federation ship as a Romulan, here you go.
Now, it should be kind of noted as to exactly why this is probably the case, is that with Discovery being an active property in development and Cryptic not having inside knowledge as to where the story is going, they basically can't make up their own Romulan like they did for the JJ ships, because there's an entirely possible that Discovery will decide to show a Romulan ship at some point.
And even if they did know.
Or it's possible they just got a mandate. It's like, well, since this is a live TV show, you only get to use stuff after we've shown it on screen, and we're not going to show any Romulan stuff. So
from the tweet that they issued about that, it seemed like it was more like a choice. It's like we have chosen not to try and make something up here and just chosen to focus on the canon ships that you've seen.
Yeah. So, and that could also factor into CBS also having authorization. So it's basically they have a conversation. But anyway, that's all inside information that we're not going to be getting into much detail.
We're not really privy about it too.
No,
so
definitely not. So yeah. It's
focusing on the ships, the three ships that we're getting here, and obviously they have shown plenty of other ships that we certainly could get in the future. But the three ships that we got here are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the coolest thing about all of this is that the console that does the nifty spore drive jump thing, you can load that onto any ship.
Really?
And you can also
all
get
three
that
of them are like that.
Yeah.
Which is, like I said, it's one of those things that they probably did because you can literally buy them for low buy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they've done that.
Actually,
they've done that for a couple of lockboxes now. Because I was actually just going around and buying the other, some of the consoles from the
one from the Walker,
the Kelvin, not the Kelvin ships, but one of the more recent lockboxes, and loading them onto a particular ship. So,
Spiritborn's just asking what are the stats. We don't have a stats blog yet, so we can't say what the stats are for these consoles.
That'll probably get posted tomorrow.
The one thing I will say for availability is that the gear from the Walker class is going to be tied to a specific low-buy pack, which you'll have to buy. The gear for the other two, the Sarcophagus and the Crossfield, which I've informally dubbed the Tardy Party class.
Please tell me you're going to make your ship name.
I'm going to make it the USS Tardy Party.
Oh, right.
But
those are like the secondary prize from Lockbox.
They are the secondary prize, so those are going to be much more available for the other factions. So if you really want the Spore Drive, the easiest way to get it is actually to be on a KDF-aligned Romulan or a KDF character and just pick that up. And those are relatively inexpensive. Or they can run over for like $1 million to $2 million, but they're not going to be huge investments. So that's some fun you can have.
Well, $1 to $2 million is half the price of a Lockbox key.
Yeah. So anyway, it's easily within grasp. But if you really want that ability, the visuals, and just to have fun with that, easiest way to go about doing it. Getting the Crossfield class is going to be a little bit harder. So that's something that players may want to consider.
So you can basically,
it's not a grand prize ship. You know how they do some of those that are just like super ultra rare.
Oh yeah, the promos.
Prizes out of these. They haven't done one for this. It's just a regular lockbox with regular lockbox odds. So I think there will be plenty of supply on the exchange. So I don't think prices are going to be like ridiculously high, even though there's going to be a lot of demand.
and the parallel draws just with the Kelvin lockbox, because we had there a similar setup where we had some new Federation ships and some new Klingon ships that were available only through this, and those are relatively accessible compared to other things like the 26th century dreadnoughts and the Constitution class.
So I'm thinking that you could role play as a Klink, or as if the Klingons had successfully captured the spore drive, or like Bud had succeeded in selling Discovery to the Klingons.
Or, actually, one thing to consider with this, though, is that given the age of the technology involved, maybe just say that someone had stolen the data required to recreate it.
I'm going to say, if I do that, I'm going to just say that a Klingon, a very, very ambitious but kind of incompetent mad scientist accidentally discovered spore drive on a Klingon ship and then just put it into practice. Just nothing to do with Discovery. You just accidentally hit the spore drive when doing something else, like trying to make a microwave.
Well, or Orions, because in canon, it's stated that the Orions have been a spacefaring race for millennia, and that they've done all sorts of weird stuff in the distant past. Maybe you'll find like some ruins of an Orion facility where they were experimenting with it and accidentally killed themselves. But they did get far enough along in their research before accidentally killing themselves to come up with useful observations on how to make it work.
So people in our chat room are asking about the console version. When does it get this stuff? And I don't really know. There's a lag time between when things can be put up on the console because of approval process through, I think Microsoft is the main one.
Microsoft and Sony both do it.
Well, I think the Sony one is easier, isn't it? That's what
I haven't heard Cryptic say any relative differences between them.
Mm.
So,
well, but I think they did say at one point that the lag time is down to as small as they can possibly make it under those circumstances.
So, I would anticipate anywhere between 2 weeks and a month. And Cryptic has stated in the past, and this is basically when is blank coming to console. This is your default answer to use for absolutely everything. At some point, if not
eventually,
soon, and in the foreseeable future, because Cryptic does want to get everything that's coming to the PC to the console, so you will never have to worry for anything coming up about the console not getting it for some reason.
Yeah, there's no exclusives.
Yeah, the only exclusive that exists and will continue to exist, for as far as we know, is the Foundry, and that's it.
Simply because of the fact that they haven't come up with a way of writing a proper UI for the Foundry on the consoles.
Well, no, there's a ton. Yeah, there's a ton of problems.
It's just
as someone who's done the Forge for Halo on the consoles, they will never get, unless they just completely redo the Foundry from the ground up, which Cryptic says they don't want to do.
Yeah,
you will never see the Foundry editor on the consoles. They have opened up the possibility of seeing missions on the consoles, but that is a time investment, and it's questionable whether Cryptic will ever make that. So that's your answer there.
There are a few things that predate the console version that are not on the console version.
Going to be, let's see. Yeah, a few miscellaneous exclusives.
Yeah. But that's just a function of, this was built later. So
yeah.
They haven't been able to go back and add that for whatever reason, or chosen to go back and add that for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So one thing, exclusives that console is missing aren't even things that are actually all that good even.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to also add about the anniversary is that there's going to be an additional giveaway. Players will get access to nine new emotes that have been programmed by, in basically one just big colossal go by one of Cryptic's new animators. So props to him. And yeah, you'll be able to do some pretty nifty new stuff coming up.
And thanks to Tribble, we actually already know what those are. We have burp, cross arms, dance smooth, dance unusual, flex, reading, slow clap, talk, and wink.
Those sound like emotes they got copied from Champions. I've seen.
Apparently they're new. Apparently they're new though.
New to Stowe. No, Cryptic did specifically say that these were newly created by their animator. So the ones that we are getting. So that was
there may be similar emotes in
stream.
Champs, but these have been
Dance
created
Unusual
from scratch.
was recently added to Champions.
Yeah, I suppose they may have taken these and added them to Champs instead of the other way around. But yeah, I'm hearing Dance Unusual, and I'm thinking to myself like Elaine from Seinfeld.
Close. If I remember right, it is something they got from a TV show character, but I don't remember exactly who it was. But it's this thing where you like windmill your arms.
Sounds like fun. So let's see. There were other things in the lockbox as well, like Harry Mudd's outfit, which is a kind of a nice looking thing. And then there's a phaser rifle. Obviously, that would be good to have in the Foundry. All of this, and the Discovery EV suit.
Mm-hmm. I am so disappointed the Torchbearer suit didn't make it in.
But it's always a question of, can they actually, put the time into actually make that?
It's possible that they might simply add it later.
Oh yeah,
I
think it's probable.
I don't see any reason why this would be the only time they ever add anything from Discovery.
Yeah. Oh, Discovery Lockbox too. I mean, we can just populate that ourselves with things we can currently pick out from the show. Like this time around, we're getting Federation-themed weapons. Next time, we get one of the Klingon disruptors.
Who knows? Maybe they decide to do it later as a giveaway.
Weapons and I mean, there's all kinds of options there. I mean, and the other thing we don't really know about is, are they adding with this any character customization options? Because there's obviously redesigned Klingons.
And Cryptic has in the past made inquiries about what people would like to see for a playable member of Saru species. Mm-hmm. And also there was some hinting that Cryptic is working on some new customization options that are pretty nifty, and we'll just see how those develop and exactly when those come in. But there is new stuff coming into the player trailer. We just don't have any details yet.
Or when. ETAs.
Yeah. But it's in the foreseeable future.
The other thing is we just on a previous episode, a very recent episode, in fact, saw very slightly redesigned Andorians and Tellarites. Basically just sort of with some added pizzazz to the designs. So, we got some possibilities there of some added customization options to those species.
Yeah, we really like the Tellarite on that.
Tusks. We want tusks for our Tellarites, right? Yeah.
That's a good fit. Andorian, I was just like, I mean, it just kind of like, for me, that was a little bit more like, well, kind of how I'd imagine they'd go. But Tellarite, that was...
It mostly just like a different sort of facial structure.
Yeah, you got a couple more spikes, and I was just like...
The eyebrows are really the only thing, to me, that sticks out as being different. Even.
The cheekbones are a lot more accentuated, so there is a lot more with the facial structure, but it is definitely the eyebrows which have the most distinguishing feature on that one. And for me, it's just kind of like, it doesn't sort of work with the design as the original design of the Andorians quite as well as the Tellarites, which are just awesome.
The original Andorian design was basically just paint the guy blue and have him wear a wig with antennas that are attached to the wig.
I know. It's just for me, I would have actually liked maybe a sleeker design rather than just kind of what seems like the theme of just add more, basically more bumpy, more detail, and sort of make it a little bit harder.
Yeah, that's kind of been a standard practice for Star Trek for years and years and years.
Oh, the old school approach of make it alien by adding spikes.
More bumps.
I mean, you remember the original Vulcans, and then you flash forward to seeing Vulcans in DS9, and suddenly they have forehead ridges.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from?
Or when Andorians gained cranial ridges in Enterprise.
Well, you can always explain it away by, people from, Andorians from a different part of the planet look different.
I don't know.
Well, that's actually canon. It's actually canon because of the fact
Well,
that.
and you have the Enars,
Well, that's
specifically
just
for the
it, though, is
Andorians.
that the Anar are actually stated specifically to not be a separate race. They're just a subspecies of Andorians that evolved slightly differently because they were isolated in this polar ice cap region.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say that
we
these
see that they aren't a separate species because of who Thylex Shran hooks up with.
So, and you can see that these Andorians with the slightly spiky face, they're just from down south.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this is the Andorian equivalent of someone who lives in the jungle.
Who knows? Anyway,
so that's part of the anniversary. We've got a new featured episode, and
lots of new ships,
and
the usual anniversary Omega particle thing event.
Yep, and the new system.
Re-engineering.
Yeah, reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Re-engineering is going to make things a lot more interesting, simply because of how it's going to allow you to take certain things where you had relatively few options in what you could use it for, and change them.
What will be interesting is that it's both a dilithium sink and a EZ sink, because it has salvage, which is basically created from melting stuff that would normally get sold for EC.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's just allowing that gear to take on a different value and different life. So it should have some interesting effects on the exchange with the valuation of prices. It could just bring things a little bit closer together from the high end and the low end.
Yeah.
So
plus, it'll take some of the extreme gymnastics that go into getting optimal gear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the many people have a farming character that they use specifically for opening lockbox weapon packs so that they can get them at Mark 1 or Mark 2 because they're opening them on a character that is level 1.
I do that sometimes just to give it more chances to go ultra rare or epic as I upgrade it along the line.
Yeah. So
I mean, granted, that's still going to be useful for the quality upgrade thing, but you don't need to worry anymore about I didn't get the mods I wanted. How horrible!
Yeah, as I can just re-roll them when I get the Mark.
But crafting gear was especially highly valued, because it gets the pen mod, but also because you could just keep crafting at low level for until you got the mod set that you wanted.
Yeah, like, this one's junk, recycle. This one's junk, recycle.
It also means that the reward gear, assuming it's compatible, set up for the re-engineering system.
Mission reward gear is not. You're not being able to change that.
That it's going to be based primarily on whether the item as is in the current database has a number of actual mods attached to it that are the proper number for its quality. Like, say, the Zephram Cochrane shotgun. It's a blue quality and it has 2 mods. So you could use it with the re-engineering thing. Except that if I remember right, Borticus said that the Zephram Cochrane shotgun has a does not have random mods at all, so you can't re-engineer it. However,
but there is some gear that
it's those ones that have random mods. Those are the main ones that you're going to be able to get to re-engineer.
Yeah. But only ones that have the right number of mods for their rank. So Rumplaz, no, which sucks. But you
get a lot more choice though with just being able to go to the lithium store. So this is going to apply specifically to a lot of the mod or gear that is in most need of that reroll.
However, for Krieger Wave Disruptors, since those have the right number of mods for their quality, and they come with random mods, you will be able to reroll them.
I know that there's some gear that that can be re-engineered, but has some other mods locked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
I'm actually wondering.
You won't be able to take certain things off of gear, which is basically essential to its functioning. So there's going to be some limitations, and it's definitely going to be something to take a look at once the system goes live or presently on Tribble.
Borticus also mentioned that things such as the Plasma Disruptor Hybrid Beam, which has 0 mods at Blue, will at some point in the future be changed so that they do actually have mods. It's just that certain of them are special mods that you can't change ever.
Yeah. So the intention is to eventually make gear a lot more accessible to the system, but it's just when it's going live, there's going to be more limitations based on.
I'm actually wondering exactly what Borticus is going to do with the Plasma Disruptor, because one of its current attributes is something that no other weapon in the game has, and quite frankly, it would be the easy way to deal with this particular bit of uniqueness is to make the uniqueness go away and never could be seen again. This is more specifically the fact that it has plus 7.5 accuracy rating when a standard accuracy mod is plus 10. So it's like 3/4 of a regular mod. Weird. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, there's a few of them you might have to sort of test and see if it's available to be changed or not.
Yeah, and that's basically...
It's on Tribble. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Go to Tribble. There you go.
Or to launch
because it goes live in 2 days.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Well, another interesting thing is that the epic mod, which up until now there's only been one epic mod per type of item, is now getting friends, and you can roll between them.
Or maybe it was the other guy mentioned that they created something like 200 new epic mods.
I don't know if it's that high.
That's basically what he said, because each of the epic mods is a combination of 3 other mods.
So it's going to be 300 different permutations, but you won't necessarily have to roll between 300 different items when you go through this process.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to look at a per item basis.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of these new epic mods are extremely similar to each other, like damage X1 plus crit hit X2 versus damage X2 plus crit hit X1. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and you can re-roll specific mods only.
Yeah, if you
can lock some and re-roll the others.
And lock the ones you want to keep.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the one thing to keep in mind for the system is that it gets more expensive as you lock more things off. So the cheapest roll is going to be re-roll everything. But if you're down to one item, then that could be a little bit more expensive. So there's still a significant cost-benefit analysis to, do I really want to get this last thing super optimal? Or
what you said is like halfway true, I guess. Best way to put it is that it's per mod cheapest to simply roll everything at once, but the actual total cost is highest when you're re-rolling everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's like if you're rolling 5 at once, each of them might be 300, but if you're only rolling 4, each of them might be 350.
Okay, so it just the cost
they go up in
scales
price,
down,
but the total price really wouldn't be.
Yeah, so this price is still going down though, but it just doesn't proceed down in a linear fashion. It's going to be, a slight curve.
It's on a curve.
Yeah.
Think of it like you get discounts for rolling more mods.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a massive discount. It's so it's like 10% or 20%.
Yeah. Because that's what I thought it would just be like it's just off the top, because then it just that made a little bit more sense to me. But then it's like, oh, okay, I can see how they're doing this.
So like for this Krieger Wave Disruptor I have in my inventory, if I wanted to change it from crit hit X2 to plus damage to damage X3, I would just lock off the damage mod so it doesn't get re-rolled, and then re-engineer the crit hit mods away.
Yeah, so overall it seems like it should be a really fun system. And I'm looking forward to it.
Early reports from Tribble, from thing I'm hearing, it usually takes about 5 to 6 attempts to get the mod you want. I mean, give or take. Obviously, you can get it on the first one, but averaging it was kind of...
Well, that makes sense with the odds.
4 different options or something. I don't know.
Yeah, 4 or 5, like, between all the mod choices, it's just, it's pretty much, you can calculate the probabilities on a binomial, just how many mods are available, and then how many times you're doing it.
Here's another thing to remember. Crafting specific mods cannot be re-engineered onto an item, and if you re-roll that, you will never get it back.
Yeah, so we can't, like, that's like a lot of the run ones, penetrate, overload, stuff like that. So be careful about those guys. And yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like people will still be crafting a bunch of Mark IIs just to get that pen mod, but at the same time, they don't have to worry as much about trying to also get like damage times 3.
And for me, this makes Lockbox gear a little bit more interesting because I never picked that up from the actual packs because for me, it was always cheaper just to go to the exchange and pick up the mod combination I wanted. I had no incentive to actually buy packs. Now I do because it's like, well, I can open them. I won't necessarily get what I want, but I can re-engineer it and without too much of a hassle.
Or now you can just go and grab the lowest mark ones so you have a chance of upgrading them.
Well, that too, but sometimes I don't necessarily, care that much of just wanting the visuals, so go for the cheap options. But yeah, so I think overall this should be a nice addition to Stowe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a random element to it, but at the end of the day, it's less random than it used to be.
Yeah.
The random element is still sort of there to make it into a dilithium sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to maintain it as something to put resources in, play for, and be a game.
And I'll be interested to see how this salvage system kind of affects like overall EC prices because normally, I mean, people just sell it off to generate EC, but if they are instead salvaging it, does this mean that things on the it'll affect like gear prices on the exchange? I mean,
I think it'll push it up. Yeah, I think it'll push it up because now there's another reason to buy that gear.
Yeah, everything that is currently vendor trash and being sold for amounts equal to its scrap value is suddenly going to have people buying it because they actually want to turn it into salvage.
Yeah, so I'd anticipate the best mod combination gear to come, like the min-max gear to come down in price, and there to be some sort of marginal increase in the price of all the other gear. There's a huge supply of that, so that's why I don't think it's going to be all of a sudden you're going to see white gear all of a sudden going for millions. But I think we're going to get above the point where that gear is just selling for equal to its vendor cost.
So, moving on, one thing that we have confirmation, and this is sort of unfortunate, is that the new Discovery ships will not have any bridges or interiors with them.
That's disappointing.
But yeah, it is a little. But those things take a lot of work, and
didn't they say that
they wanted to work on something else? So
didn't they say that instead of making one for the Discovery ships, they made one for the Bajoran Interceptor?
Did they make a bridge for that?
The Bajoran ship will use the generic bridge.
Oh, right. Wait.
Yeah.
It's always a little, hexagon one that just has generic consoles.
I don't think we've ever had that as an actual.
Oh yeah. Unlike some of the like the T5 Constellation prizes, like the APU ship has one.
Oh, that bridge. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's about as basic as you can make a bridge.
Yeah.
So what I thought we'd do is because and also because we may get these in the Foundry.
We missed one news item.
Darn it, you're disrupting my rhythm here. Disruptive. But okay, what was it?
Okay, so Cryptic released a anniversary reflections video.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How can I forget?
And I mean, it's not so much news in of itself, because I mean they do one of these every year, and they're kind of fun to watch and kind of get the thoughts of the, but they don't really reveal anything new. But in this particular case, and let me put it up here. You'll remember our favorite.
It's mostly just like them reminiscing about things they thought are cool or something.
Well, of course, Maria Russo's favorite thing was the Foundry, but if you go through, you'll notice some footage that is actually from us.
Yeah, from our show.
About a month ago,
See
Ambassador
our
Kill.
graphics overlay.
Yeah, which I was surprised he included because I did provide footage, Foundry footage that was clean, which you can actually see a little bit earlier. But he decided to include it, and he did put out a call on Twitter for some Foundry footage, and we've amassed some of it doing a Foundry show, and so I volunteered to get him some of the footage we had, and so he uses that, and yeah, so we got a little bit of I guess you could call it a shout out.
A little bit of love there. Specifically for our is that our foundational Foundry logo that I see there?
Yeah, so I gave him some of the footage from our foundational Foundry series.
Sweet.
Cool. And I will say that Zero is working on some stuff, so we may see content updates for the Foundry in not too distant future.
Yes, I always love those.
Don't get your hopes up too high.
That's what Zero said.
I'm just saying, don't get them up too high. Don't expect things tomorrow.
No, it's just Zero says she's working on stuff. And
don't expect every single thing you've ever wanted.
No.
But anyway, we're always happy to hear that she's working on stuff. So.
Yeah. I will also say that if you zoom in closely to what Zero is working on at her desk, you will notice that she is looking up pictures of David Hasselhoff.
So we could get the Hoff in the Foundry. That would be fantastic.
I think we have a theme for our next challenge.
The German Foundry community would go wild.
Probably Norwegian too.
Anyway, and also I'll say a brief thing. I did launch the 26th Century Challenge. So if people want to get involved with that, there are posts in the Foundry section of the main forum.
Links will be included in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. Giving away a Geordie Bridge Officer code for the prize. I know you want that.
Hey.
But yes, moving along. So as I was saying, we're not getting new interiors with the Discovery ships. But I thought since we might be getting these ships in the Foundry at some point, why don't we build an interior that looks at least, as close to the show as we can think of? So this might be a multi-part build here, a multi-show build. But I thought we'd just start, plain and simple with some corridors.
Yeah, we'll get to finishing our 26th century mission eventually.
Oh yes.
And Captain Proton.
Oh man,
we wouldn't be Foundry authors if we didn't start a new project in the middle of an old project.
Yep.
Sounds perfectly normal.
So I provided Dragoon with some pictures of the Discovery corridors from the show.
Yeah, let me close up here while I'm loading up the Foundry.
So I was thinking that if we ever get around to publishing this map, what we would call it is Discovery CE. The CE standing for close enough.
Yeah, I'm going to go modify our Foundry foundational or the Discovery Roundtable set.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I asked you to put some green screen out the window there.
Mm-hmm.
So I can green screen in the Discovery ships out the window.
Now, this is kind of interesting because the shape of the corridor is similar to the motion picture corridors in the sense that you have this hexagonal pattern. And to replicate that, what I actually used was the cave supports and actually used that for the full wall section. That might not be so good because that is asset heavy, but you could at least look into using those parts, one of the cave supports, for setting up those I don't want to call them buttresses because it's a starship, but the major support elements in the ship. You can also there's also the ship support, which is a little bit more rounded too.
Well, we can start off by taking a look at those assets.
I think Bulwark is still a proper term on a naval vessel?
I believe so.
Is it a bulb?
Bulwark?
Yeah, I mean, because like for the things that hold the walls so the walls don't fall over or something.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll be honest. This looks kind of hard. I'm not quite sure how I want to approach this one.
I think Sutherland may have actually had a really good idea.
Using the bars.
Yeah, the bars. I was just thinking is that those and the I would like those teamed with the the rounded ship supports that I think we used for way back for an NX interior. Yeah, that might be a good combination. Either that or basically the bar walls and then ship support columns for the bulwarks. Not the ship, the cave supports.
All right, so I'm looking at the floor and I'm thinking, I don't know if there's anything we can do for the floor lights.
Oh, let's. Can you go back to the screen, the shot?
Oh yeah, sorry. Talking about things I can see, but you guys can't.
Yeah. What we do have, like, are these just recessed floor lights?
Yeah, but they're kind of they're like it's like a strip.
You could just do a strip of ESD recessed floor lights.
I mean, I don't.
You don't want to go like crazy overboard on the assets. It's just a hallway.
Yeah. Well, if it's just a hallway, then I mean,
you could do something that's white in color or light colored rather than an actual light.
Yeah, instead of a bar, you could just do a Basically, what you could do is actually here you go. You have the center like that. The middle of the hallway is going to be the metal floor.
Yeah, the
reflective
one.
On top of a tan carpet, and then on the edge you have, say, the ribbed gray floor, or just metal floor again. So those lights are going to be replicated by just having that as just space revealed between that is tan flooring in between the metal.
So I am thinking the best way to approach this might actually just be to abandon making it screen perfect and go for the intent more than the actual. Yeah. And maybe just like put like a recessed ESD lightings like between each segment instead of trying to do a strip. So it kind of gets some of the same lighting, but not necessarily.
We do have those wall pillar things have those like mini consoles on them that you could put along there to give it that ribbed look that it has here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for the bulwark. You wouldn't be able to, yeah. So that or the cave supports, which are a little bit more angular.
So that said, I think you're onto the right idea though with the like using like metal squares to kind of fill in the center, because notice there's like a darker strip that goes between each column.
Mm-hmm. What you can do for the dark strip is a lowered building block wall, type 3.
I thought about that, and then I realized, what about dark gray kerned rubber floor?
It's going to be too wide.
Oh, I'm not gonna. I'm using that as the base, and then sticking the metal floor, like 10-foot metal floors on top of it.
Yeah. Okay, I was still working on tan flooring as the base.
Yeah, I'm just worried that going that route, it would be unfathomably expensive in assets.
Oh, with tan?
No, trying to kind of create the strips with a tan.
Oh, well, I was just thinking that is your base, and then you lay on the shiny metal floor as squares, and then you replicate the darker strips using the building block. So I wasn't thinking of this as being hugely expensive. It'd just be like you just have one really big tan floor, and then you're just building on top of that. So all those strips are just part of the same asset, or the light strips are all part of the same asset.
Get a segment of corridor going first. All right, so walls. We were thinking one of the bars. Which are called something else.
It's like counter. Yeah, I'd search for counter.
Okay.
It's entirely possible that they're not meant to be used for this purpose.
Oh, definitely not.
Really?
Come on, I made my my Jeffries tubes out of these guys.
I use them for wainscoting. Also benches. In one of my most recent episodes.
Excellent.
All right.
I suppose you should open the foundry as well, although I'm tempted just to keep grinding for lithium and energy credits, because you need more. Yeah, so basically what you're doing there, that's what I was thinking about.
This new character made will be level 50.
But yeah, what you're doing there is basically what I thought you would be doing with the tan flooring, instead of having the gray knurled. So, yeah. So I think this would all work, and yeah, should still be good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm worried that we would just be completely unable to get it too close as far as screen accuracy. So what we can do is go for
the VL, and that's what I did
Spirit over.
That's what I did for my attempt to crit in Enterprise B corridor, is just to get the sort of the structural elements in, and then you can't get the screen accurate, but you can get enough parts that it feels like a translation for Stowe.
I always compare working in the Foundry a bit like to being a magician, where you're not really making the girl disappear, but you were hand-waving enough to get their brains to think that you did.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to...
Yeah, and then look into ship support column. Or not ship support. The
curvy one? Or
not the curvy one, actually. It's the cave supports. There's a few different sizes. So look into those, because we might actually have some... And then you're basically going to put them backwards. So they'll basically, like, it's the letter K, and the K, like, the straight back is going to be at the wall, and then the two bits, the two angled bits are going to be facing into the hallway. Let me just make sure I have the asset name down.
I got it.
Now, how tall are those is the question.
There's a few sizes, so you can just basically take a look at the dimensions, and it's in meters. So you've got, yeah, so the 3 and 4, like 4 might be, okay, that's only 10. Actually, no, those don't have the K bit. I'm thinking cave supports 02. Start with that.
Yep, already on it.
Or 09. That's actually a little bit shorter, so that's only 9 meters.
Here, I'll
so 09 or 02.
Let's do half the hallway in one and half the hallway in the other.
One or the other of those will be what we need.
Or neither are going to be.
Or neither, maybe. I don't know.
And we're going to.
I don't know. So we'll
got
to wait till the preview it.
No, this is actually looking pretty good from the preview window.
Unless I haven't thrown anything up as a ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, compared to, like...
Yeah, you can always do that later.
Yeah. Well, usually for me, it's either the first step or the last step.
I usually regret it when I do it as the last step.
Yeah. I've actually done a few builds now where I actually did that first, once I actually got the elevation. Like, I put the floor down. Actually, I put an asset down, built everything for my first bit of the floor, and then I then changed that asset to be my ceiling, because now if I put it on top, it's on the bottom of the basically the view order. So I can have a ceiling and then just be able to see everything else I'm building.
Try for like 106.
the other option is, build your first set of floor here your first set of corridor here as kind of like a test, and put the ceiling on last, and then just duplicate that section of corridor till it's on top.
Yeah.
Okay, so test.
This new character, which I built to fly the crossfield class whenever I get one, is just 2 bars away from level 50. Need some more doffing assignments.
Yeah, just do doffing for about 20 minutes. You should be fine. Ooh,
right, so
that is
it's a little
interesting. Yeah.
You could easily widen it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to switch to a larger size of
Floor.
Yeah,
I am still waiting on the stream delay.
There you go. You just pull it apart a little bit.
Actually,
the metal beams aren't as bad as I was thinking, because I was expecting the nature of them to conflict with the walls, but it looks okay.
Yeah.
Hey, they are very tall.
They are very tall.
Yeah, I think you want those other ones.
Yeah. What you could also do is just play around with their elevation a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sink them.
Yeah. Actually, no. It's like
the ones up by you right now.
Put 2 of them in each spot. Sink one, raise the other, so that you kind of like have one of them that's a little higher than that one there, and then there's one that's a little lower, so that they're kind of like the bottom and the top of the hallway, but not the middle.
Yeah, you could also, just to save a little bit, is actually just kind of hand-weighted. Like, you could also... Oh, those are really tall. You might try the 5 meter, because those seem like they're about twice as high as you need. And, yeah, so the 5 meter ones...
is that
which
2
or... 3 and 4. So you can just look in the... when you're looking at the preview, like the object asset information, look for the ones that have 5 instead of 10. So that would be... let's see. I'm looking for ones with... Actually, hold on. Because... Oh, hold on. Yeah, let's see. The ones that are shorter are just single pillars, not the K-shape. So we're actually kind of stuck on this one. So we got to...
I can work with it.
Yeah. So these are going to be really... You're going to get the top and the bottom, so... You could do mark for getting both effects, or you could really actually just concentrate on one. So honestly, only do like the top.
I think we got room to work.
Okay.
Turn my snap. Okay, so these guys have got to be expanded. Might work out in our favor.
This is one of those things where I like mathematical building, because you're like, okay, I need to move this over 3 meters, and then you just like type it into the box.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the assets function on.
Yeah, with the snap to grids and feats.
Yeah, I know it bothers me a little bit, but you can work with it, because even with snap to grid turned on, you can change numbers by typing in that box. It's just that it'll snap to grid after you type it into the box.
Okay, so I will do... That's good. There's still some overlap from the walls.
this brand new character that I created just the other day has 36 Romulan marks. I have no idea why.
Petting your Romulan Tribble a lot?
Did you do a Tau Dewa patrol?
Nope.
Have you been to New Romulus?
At all?
Nope.
I mean, like every mission on New Romulus gives you those.
But only 36.
I have done almost nothing on this character except for the first agency yesterday missions.
Yeah, it's 36 is going to be the weird number because that means you didn't do something that came with a daily bonus.
Wait, because the daily bonus is like 45 or something.
Well, altogether you'd be getting around 60 marks, even if you're just getting 5 plus a daily bonus.
Well, I mean, what I was saying is that the daily bonus itself is like 45 or so.
It's, I think, a little bit more, because if you just basically do one of the standard patrols, which normally awards only like 5 or 10, the red alerts, they're absolutely marginal. Like, you're only getting marks from those basically specifically from the daily, and you're getting about 69 for each one of those. So you basically you had to have done something that wasn't a daily patrol.
I didn't do nothing.
Okay. Temporal Recruit or Delta Recruit. Those will award reputation boxes. And
I did not open any of them.
Also, 36.
I'm not sure what build I'm going to do yet, so I haven't opened any of them.
Okay,
actually,
Witchcraft.
Do you have a Romulan Tribble that you've been petting repeatedly?
Nope.
Does your bridge officer have a Romulan Tribble?
Those don't work if your bridge officer uses.
I know. I didn't think they did.
Yeah, I mean, was there a?
Well, you can give a Romulan
Tribble.
Well, you can give the new Romulus Tribble to a bridge officer. It's just going to go for the status effects, not the marks.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I'm just exploring other possibilities at this point because
I don't even remember if there was a Tribble for.
Yeah, it's one of the promo ones, but you can also get it from.
Old.
Yeah, it was from one of the basically beta testing or the Tribble testing sessions, and you can get it now from the Phoenix.
I have most of those, so.
I think we're making progress.
Mm-hmm. That looks better, yes.
I mean, I've still got to adjust some Y values, but
I wish that was solid in there between, and we could probably make it solid.
Well, one thing you could do is you could duplicate them and have one of them be about a meter higher than the other.
Well, I think if we get their Y values correct,
you should get a little bit of the bottom and still get the top, because you don't need to necessarily to get this to feel like the show. I mean, those hexagonal elements. Ultimately, I don't think they're perfectly well, if you go back to the screenshot, they might not be perfectly symmetrical between how much there is on the bottom and how much there is on the top. But yeah. Anyway, though, I mean, it's something you basically just want to get those features on there. And again, we're not perfect.
When I said duplicate, I meant the y-axis, not the x-axis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you get the bottom bits and the top bits from 2 separate bits.
Okay, you definitely have to go up a lot further. Still come down on the ceiling. I think once we kind of get them into place, it'll look better.
Yeah, and that was the experience I had when I was making my my attempt at a Enterprise B hallway. Basically, once you get it right, then it's like, there we go. But
it doesn't work. Ah, it works.
Yep.
Oh, the old, it's like, so what does this asset look like when you use it in an actual mission?
I'm kind of curious from the chat room if anybody's tried to do a non-standard hallway like this.
Well, I mean, I that Bajoran mission I kind of just used random generic interior props when I was building the hallways for that one. Except for the part that was supposed to be Thullian themed, at which point it just stuck crystal blocks everywhere.
Yeah, that one wasn't quite right.
No, it was way off. It went too high.
Meanwhile, I just started the 10th tier Admiralty project for Klingon on another one of my characters.
Ah, that's a nice 30,000 dilithium.
I still need to finish my temporal recruit. Still 5 lords I haven't gone after.
That's what I plan to be working on in the lead up to the next expansion. Because you know me, I'll start a bunch of characters in the expansion, so you might as well have all the bonuses you can for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm probably going to make a new character for that too.
Actually, on one of my accounts, I still haven't quite finished out the Delta recruit either, and one of those characters is going to be the one flying the new Klingon ship, so that should be fun.
Well, I mean, I have 3 Delta recruits. I mean, this is one of them. I mean, I've only actually finished the Delta recruit stuff on one of them, and it wasn't this one. Well.
I'll tell you, and it took a while, but I finally got the what is it? You needed 6 DOF tracks to tier 4 to get the final reward for that one for temporal recruit.
Yeah.
And I finally just now got that. It took a long time.
Yeah, I finished off mine.
This is getting close.
Around summer last year.
What does this character need? Oh, this character, what she needs is the she's only actually completed 1 story arc, and she hasn't actually found half of the Iconian junk. Oh wait, no. She's found 3/4 of the Iconian junk.
I think I found all the Iconian junk, but I still got to finish up a couple of.
Yeah, that does look pretty good.
Now what you need is something to break up the ceiling a little.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Suggestions. Let's see.
There is one of those shots that I gave you that shows the ceiling.
Yeah.
So there might be some inspiration you could draw from there.
It's just having parts with bottoms to them can be a little tough because it's like, hey, I've got cave pipelines and then ... walls.
There was one point. I mean, it was years and years and years ago when I actually went through and looked at the bottoms of a whole bunch of assets. And that sounds really dirty.
Well, it's useful because when you want to put something on the ceiling, you need to know what it looks like when viewed from the underside.
Yeah, there really is quite a number of things that have interesting undersides to them.
Yeah, or no undersides, and when you look at it from underneath, you see air.
Yeah, and in this case, you need something that goes along with the cave supports to form that, because that's going to be one of the major elements. What you could do is a grid work of walls, but on the ceiling, but those are going to be...
it's going to be expensive.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a cheap option here. Besides, if you just want to do... basically, the ceiling is one asset, and then you basically finish off each one of those support elements with one building block door. Because if you do that too, you can dip into the buildings assets. You basically get those for free. I'm just thinking. Let's see. No, no, that's not going to do it. Let's see. Thinking if there's any squares. I mean, you could get a little
ceiling
creative.
light or light ceiling L set. It's kind of looks like sciencey. Got the hologrammy thing in it.
If you wanted to do like something a little bit more creative, I mean, this wouldn't actually be screen accurate. I mean, if you just want a great cool hallway, you can actually just put cargo lifts, the generic type, and then just have that above the player as funky disco ceiling lights. Wouldn't it be good here? It's just like if I was designing this fresh, that's maybe what I consider, but now we can't use that. Yeah, I'd just go with the light part of the ceiling as a tan floor, And then I'd try to do some kind of an asset to finish off the top of each buttress, like each one of those hexagonal doorways. That would be the simplest way to go about it. And then if you had more assets remaining, you can basically just do the same building block walls running longitudinally to create the effect of having those, basically the inset lighter squares. And it's not going to be the cheapest thing, but I don't think there's going to be a cheap option unless you can get that scoring effect with one asset. It's just going to be 2 versus 1. Or, yeah, 3 versus 1. Actually, with longer building block walls, it might not actually cost that much. Because to run the full hallway, you might only just need, 2 sets of those longitudinal walls, and then you get the sides.
Yeah. Especially if you're using like the huge ones are like 20 or 40 feet long, because you just like put one on each side of the hallway and call it good.
Yeah, and then you basically just have latitudinal walls running across, and there you go. You got the square effect, and then you have a tan floor, and that's the lighter part. And then you can just put ceiling lights on the tan floor just to get the effect of having a light coming up at the top there. I mean, you're not going to be able to get the diagonal lighting they've got there. So I would just do that for ceiling lights. Unless you wanted to do, well, this would still be, actually, safe on the lighting. You might have another option. Because you could do the hanging ESD lights and have those running along the sides of the hallway.
Oh, you mean the ovoid ones or something else?
Well, they're not ovoid, they're suspended, so they're cylindrical.
Oh, those ones.
Yeah.
So the ones that look like a glowing coffee can dangling from a string.
Yep. So you use those ones and have those on the side, because in Lighting 2.0, those are lighting assets. Mm-hmm. So you just basically have those like inset into the wall. So you only have basically at eye level, you've got those running across. I mean, it's going to be a little tricky with the walls we have to get those right, but
we could inset them into the
the counter
in between
walls.
The cave supports.
Yeah. So that would be a way of getting the lighting at that level. So then all you're looking at now for the ceiling is building block walls to create the structure, and then the lighter part is just going to be one tan floor.
Not that it's going to work here, but if somebody ever wanted to consider something cool for the center of their fed hallway, the bottom of the ESD benches. Glass.
Yeah.
Won't work here, but
it's something that's worth considering for other builds.
The sort of the teal green science consoles also have a base to them, and those can be pretty good when you've inset those into a ceiling. Use that a couple of times.
Sorry, which thing?
Oh, the teal green science consoles.
Oh, you mean the old ones?
Yeah. Those would not work here, definitely, but it's just another thing if you want to liven up the ceiling with something that's not a block.
Yet another one of those things is like, this might be useful for a different project.
Because this is going to be a non-standard hallway.
What about like one of the really large crates?
Yeah. Well,
how big do we actually have?
Well, we got some pretty big ones. I mean, large, like, it's just the problem, though, if you're using a crate as a ceiling. Yeah, I just don't know where we're going to be getting with that one, because the problem is going to be creating that sort of the lattice work. So you have a crate, it's kind of going the opposite direction. We could do a crate, but it's going to be sort of the opposite of what we would want.
Oh, with it not being recessed?
Yeah, it would not be. It'd be the opposite of recessed. It'd be an outie instead of an innie.
May not notice. I just don't know that we can get anything big enough.
So what exactly are you doing right now?
I'm just looking at what we got.
Okay.
We've got the screenshots playing on the stream there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I keep forgetting to switch back and forth. I just been going through different assets trying to figure out something.
Well, I have to say that particular one is a very good reference for the hallways, though.
Yeah, and that's what I've been looking at. But yeah, I think for the hallway ceiling, just using building block walls to create that structure would probably be your best bet. Dam floor at the top, and then we're now probably going to be moving on once you get that set up to lighting.
You know, I kind of miss flying the Luna class. It's a nice little ship.
Yeah, had some nifty customization too with the old Seastore costume, now fleet version.
Yep.
I miss the Trident. I mean, that I did like that ship design.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I look at it, scratched my head. It's like, okay, well, I can see why someone would want to fly this.
Yeah, it felt like
kind of
like
one.
more of a It kind of felt like to me like a. It's definitely not playing to the conventional like human fed. It seemed like kind of like basically you take fed like tendencies and design and basically make a Vulcan ship. So it's just one of the other species taking a spearheading of designing a Federation starship that folds into...
My personal favorite of all of those freebie leveling ships is the one that looks like it has a goldfish tank attached to warp nacelles.
Yeah, it's one of the options for the Olympic class.
Oh, yeah. That. I look at that and I'm like, this just looks weird. So I'm going to fly it because it looks weird.
Yeah, my roommate, for some reason, when he was flying that ship, named it the USS Picard Flute.
All right, trying something a little off the wall here.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You might actually get a better result if you don't use the ESD ones, but if you use the generic ones.
Are they larger?
I think so. And they also have some pretty nifty stuff on the underside.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what it is like without it first.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure how well those hover pads are going to fit into the style. And these look pretty generic from the underside.
Okay. Yeah, that might be interesting.
As we wait for the
Life of a Foundry author.
For you to load in and for the stream to catch up to you loading in.
Then we get to look at it. Assuming the Foundry doesn't crash before then.
So, do we want to touch on what we've been working on?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. 26th Century Anthology. Actually moving forward now with a basically map builds, which I'm not going to be able to show on Twitter because they're slightly spoilery.
Oh, so many spoilers.
But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to work with, and I'm starting to hit dialogue now for the main character group, and I'm starting to work on. I do like the proportions on the hallway. I think that looks really good.
What do you think of the ceiling?
Ceiling,
it looks cool. It doesn't really look like
it's an interesting direction,
ceiling.
but it's not.
It looks
quite
like
what we're looking for, I think.
It looks like a Fed thing, but from a different ship.
Yeah, for a different ship, it'd be great. But yeah, I don't think it's hitting.
And I don't think those are big enough for what you need either.
Yeah, and I think they're a little too wide too.
So if they ran into each other more, then
maybe.
Better.
Maybe try the other one.
Repositioning them, you might achieve a better result, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're going to need to like.
Size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Then probably not going to be able to work with that too much. Yeah. That's going to be a tough one.
All right, you keep talking about what you're doing, and I'll go start searching for assets.
Anyway, though, yeah, I've started on dialogue, and I've kind of found what I haven't done in a while, which is actually going to be a larger crew style mission. So what'll eventually be 4 characters teaming up with a player. And just, I'm finding that's been a lot easier to work around, because my last 2 missions have basically been a smaller group, like 2 to 3. And that's actually hard to write dialogue for, because like every time you go to an optional dialogue scene, you're having to think about what those characters are doing. And if you have 4 people, you've got a lot more options to vary it up. So it doesn't feel quite as forced, like, okay, I've got to have these 2 in this situation. It's just like you got a little bit more to play with. So I'm actually finding that even though I'm working with more characters, it's actually looking to be an easier project than the Starfleet security episode that I was just working on. Because I got
Maybe that's why so many TV shows that start off with a tiny amount of characters end up adding a bunch.
Yeah, because eventually it gets harder to work with just the same 2 people having dialogue the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like for an NCIS example, they might, have an episode where they decide they need to have 3 or 4 people doing something in the morgue. So they're just like introduce this random person who's not really an intern, but it kind of like works for the main guy that you normally see. It's just that it's, this person who doesn't, he's not the main guy, so he's not in charge of anything, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and if you're looking at other TV shows,
you notice NCIS, they started off with 5 series regulars, and I believe they're up to 9 now.
Yeah, and even still, I mean, they don't start off with 2. It's kind of like I'm just thinking of like what the optimal number is. And you ever, like, if you look at something like The Simpsons or Star Trek, you always kind of, like, you're almost starting with a crew each time of, like, 5 to 6 core characters. And that's what's varied up, basically, between episodes of the same show. So if you're looking at writing a more elaborate Foundry mission, then looking at creating a core group of, like, that many characters for optional dialogue scenes, I mean, it feels a lot more natural than just trying to keep it to, like, the minimum number you absolutely need just to get the function of the mission now. So basically, if you want to just, try to do a little bit more with the Foundry mission, just make it feel more organic, easier to write. Doing more, going bigger is sometimes the better option. So anyway, that's what I've been working on, is just getting that project started, and that was going pretty well up until the Discovery of Lockbox was announced. And
then he got all excited.
Well, then I got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I've got the resources. I'm in spitting distance, but not quite. So I've had to basically go into
do some EC generating.
EC generating, not in the sense of just like, oh, I'm just grinding. It's like doing the same thing over and over. I'm now just, I was kind of at a lull. Like, I hadn't been doing too much with my characters, and now I'm like, okay, well, now I got to get everyone's lithium cap up, got to go kill some dinosaurs, got to go do Admiralty, and then R&D, duty officering, and then there's actually one mission you can do for bankable energy credits. It's the last one of the Borg arc, where you go into fluidic space. The anti-proton beam there sells for about between 400,000 and 500,000 energy credits. And you can just keep doing it.
Okay, Dragoon, that's looking good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. This
maybe like a lighter ceiling material, though.
About.
I'll have to find something. I think it's dark because it's underlit.
Yeah.
You're always going to get something. Yeah, there's always going to be a little bit. It's going to be a little bit darker with the just the fact that you're underneath it.
Well,
so I just thought of something
you can change backdrops as well, right?
I just thought of something you could do that would be utterly hilarious. Take the Coliseum lights and align them so that they're just barely peeking out through the corner.
They don't work properly.
They don't give you proper lighting?
They don't give off light.
They don't give off light, and the light face is black because there's an issue with the normals.
Oh. So that would look cool, though, because it just basically just give you this light strip sticking out along the edge.
So if you look at the counterpieces, you've got a central pillar thing that does kind of arc up nicely, like at an angle. But then you have 2 gray sort of faces to either side of that. I'm thinking if you put the overhead ESD or the hanging ESD lights there, that could look pretty good. So you got 2 in each one of those gray spaces, so you get 4 per counter side. It's going to need a basket.
A bit.
Yeah. I was thinking, though, with the hall size, that actually looked pretty good. Because you also have to consider that the player's going to be moving around here with a bridge crew.
Yeah. All right, so ESD lights. Half my map is all covered up now because I put in those ceiling supports.
So, yeah, it is the hanging ones. So,
All right, so where are you thinking these should go?
okay, so basically, you've got, you can see if you're zooming in towards the map, you've got the central support pillar of each counter kind of poking out.
Uh-huh.
To either side of that. So basically, on the snap to grid, you've got, you'll have 4 and 2 on each side, and they're going to be basically clustered to the left and right of that.
Okay.
So there's going to be a gray face that's of the counter that's going to be yeah, let's just see. I'm a little bit behind here.
Here, let me help that.
Yeah, if you share screens, I might be able to comment in real time. Okay. Looking.
Yeah, past me, so, can't hear you.
Okay, so where you put those, yeah, good. And then if you just basically snap to grid 1 more, so you'd have a total of 4. So 1 more, kind of basically same idea. So
yeah, so I got 4.
Well, I mean 4 on each side.
Oh, you're thinking like what on the other side?
2 and 2. Yeah,
like
yeah.
Here?
So yeah, like over there. Yeah, perfect. And you might even do, triple it up depending on how this looks. But I think the 2 and 2 should look pretty good. I'm just not sure what's going to be up with the Z values on these ones because I kind of remember these being a little tricky, but I've used them a bunch for a bunch of different projects.
There are certain assets where I avoid using snap to grid with them simply because I can't line them up properly when snap to grid is turned on.
Yeah, but they're good for like getting things rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I basically build mostly in snap to grid and then as a first go, and then make whatever modifications I need directly with coordinate adjustments. I really don't spend too much time doing kind of like the freehand, like placing objects without snap to grid on, unless it's basically part of a natural terrain or something that's not part of a regular structure. So like crates in a hallway, because that feels pretty much more organic. But if it's part of a structure that's repeating, I don't build with for the first off with snap to grid on.
A lot of the time I'll freehand it, then math it. So just like drop it. It's like, okay, I want these lined up at this number, and just type in that, and it's just like.
And once you get those in the right spot, that'll work pretty nice, I think. Though you get those sunk into the wall a little.
Yeah.
Rather than hanging down.
The pillars aren't.
Yeah, I would just say have those a little bit higher.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're almost at exactly the right height because you see they're on one side anyway. They're lined up with that green bit.
Is that? Oh, okay, that side. Okay, yeah, that side.
I don't know why. I don't know why why the 2 sides are different.
That's a good question. Why are the 2 sides?
Oh,
different?
is it? Oh, it's because the counter is elevated on that side.
Why is the counter elevated? Why aren't they the same?
Yeah, it's one side is the counter is floating a little bit. So the lights are the same height. The counters aren't.
The counters are not.
It's not right. Why is that not right?
It's it's not 100. It's
make sure you got snap grid off. Yeah.
And I think that's maybe true for the entire side, so you might want to check the other two.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
All right, so let's pack these guys into the wall more, see what happens. Yeah, go away, you.
I'll tell you, just generically thinking about things. Since we're getting discovery stuff, which was my previous number one wish, my new number one wish for Stowe is that we had a photonic player character.
Oh. Yeah.
Which I think I've said before, but
that seems unlikely.
Yeah, it might be a CBS thing.
All you need is, the regular alien gen character, just with the little holo shimmer.
I mean, they could do it like they did for Android bridge officers.
Yeah.
I mean, we got holographic bridge officers too.
Yeah, but I want a player character.
I know.
To go with the because so here's why.
Are you going to call yourself the emergency command hologram?
That would be fun. But I'll tell you why is that we have because of all the various convention codes. Dragoon got an error, or was that just random?
That's the usual error.
Usual error.
That weird stupid thing that it likes to spit out now, and we don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. So with all the convention codes that I've been able to assemble, I can have a whole landing party full of holographic buffs, one from each show: TOS, TNG, DS9, and Voyager. But I can't make my player character a hologram too.
No, not officially.
I want to have a whole ship of holograms.
I mean, what you could do is you make an alien, and then you just pick up as many holographic themed traits as possible. So I mean, there's maybe a few, and then bridge officer abilities because you got the Intel command module, the Intel module.
Where you create a holographic duplicate of yourself that runs off like a headless chicken and aggroes everything on the map just because it exists.
Yeah, I mean, that could be potentially pretty useful.
It's hilarious to do that in an open world map like Nimbus, because you will see enemies run up towards you that you didn't know existed. And you're like, where did this thing come from?
Yeah, I mean, we have there's a space trade, photonic field protocol. So I mean, hey, there's more, and then you could also just make it a science character, get the shard of possibilities, more holograms.
All right, so if we raise that like half I think that'll look pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Definitely provides
now
plenty of light.
Now it just looks like part of the wall. I think we were talking earlier about making that sealing the tan carpet. I wonder about that. That might be good.
Well, since I can, I will go ahead and try it.
Also, just type tan.
I do not move fast enough for Duncan, Idaho.
As we all have our various techniques of looking for assets.
Well, one thing that's very, very underrated that new authors are probably not going to understand the importance of it is to basically memorize the asset list so that you when you want to use something, you're like, oh, I remember what that thing is called. Then you can type in its name.
Yeah, that comes through experience, and new authors they'll get it eventually. It's just it might take.
Well, some of us never really memorize the whole thing. I definitely haven't.
Well, also it's one of those where
there
to a certain extent it's something you have to like actually try to do. You can't just expect yourself to remember it. That doesn't work.
I think, I really like
that.
the tan. That looks really good.
It lightens the whole thing up a little bit.
I like the structure too. I mean, I think you did a good job with the using the floors on the side, and the way they're positioned now, it actually I think works well with the design, where they're coming out a little bit, but they don't they're still it seems like an integrated part of those counters because the counters, those central support elements, still goes to the ceiling. So I think that's a really good balance.
My pillars are not aligned. Got one side that's higher than the other.
Actually, that's a very good point. Is that when you're building Fed interiors from scratch, you don't want to use dark wall materials because it gives you a dark general look to things. That's probably not what you want.
It depends on which Fed you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
because this is Discovery, and they're pretty dark.
Yeah, or you could just be making like an Intel ship, and you want to kind of have something on the interior that matches the exterior.
Well, I guess it's a overgeneralized plot or point, but
I've actually found with the some of the just regular old Fed assets that we have, they look very good if you use a night backdrop, make it darker, because then the consoles glow a bit more.
Yeah, and the lighting strip too on the generic ship wall.
All right, what's your preferred outdoor map for space?
Alpine. Alpine. Like one thing I found good is this is what I used for AEI was the Alpine exterior. That one. Okay. That one's pretty bright. If you want a little bit darker, there's one of the night backdrops here. I'll just take a look. Oh, dang it! I'm not in a Foundry.
Bloodleaf says Night 02.
Night 02 can work pretty well. Alpine, I think, is a little bit brighter, but you can also go for, I think it's 05. I use that a bunch, or I'm using that a couple times. But it's got like more of the red backdrop. Because it's second from the bottom. But yeah, the Alpine one will work really well for a interior as well. Because that's what I use for Starbase Magellan for Epoch. 02 is pretty good. A little bit less blue.
Blue is what we want, though.
Yeah, that's why
Discovery is very blue.
Actually, I think they light a lot in warmer colors.
Well, I think it depends on which part of the ship you're looking at. Because the way I remember is that certain parts of the ship kind of just like just generally feel different, and it's because of the overall lighting color.
I don't.
It seems to me like the corridors and the bridge is very blue. The sickbay is very white.
Of course, you get this line for the horizon.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing you just want to pay attention to. I mean, it depends on if you want this to have windows. The answer is no. Then yeah, you can also play with the horizon line just by adjusting how high the bottom of the windowsill is. Because I did have an exterior window for Epoch, and I just, made sure I just played around with the sight line sufficiently so you didn't see that. 902. Actually, on the night ones, I think nights 1 through 5 could work out pretty well. If you want to go real dark, I mean, there's no Potent Night. Let's see.
That's when you put on there if the power goes out or something.
Yeah. Let's see. Ruapente, no, that's going to be a little bit too purple. Andoria might be pretty good.
Andoria is actually rather bright because it's not even night.
That's what I'm thinking that actually might work here because you don't want something that's going to be super dark because it's going to be hard to light this space. So, because we're only using those.
I mean, those wall lights are casting out quite a bit of light.
Yeah. You don't get that in the center. Well, I mean, once you finish the hallway, it should actually be... Yeah, that should be still pretty good. But yeah, any of these night ones, I think, ultimately would be okay.
That looks quite nice.
Oh, is this 02?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. You kind of more of a...
It changes the color of the walls. honestly, those bar assets.
Well, see, one thing that a lot of people don't understand about the lighting engine in Stowe is that the backdrop lighting color defines the base lighting for the entire map. So everything is lighted based on the color of the lighting used for the backdrop.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the very least, there's going to be a kind of a filter applied as the backdrop lighting, so that does have an effect on the overall view. So if you wanted to make something that looked, you say, more purple, you would use purple haze, and then just your standard white ESD lights are going to have a dramatic effect. And that actually is a little bit more prominent now, just because we do only have the white lights available. We had a few more options when we're dealing with lighting 1.0. But yeah, playing around with these backdrops is going to be...
certain backdrops just have very interesting, unconventional lighting schemes to them that... when you aren't familiar with what they do, you'll not entirely get it because you won't realize that it does this. Because, for example, there's a lighting backdrop that was designed for, I think it was Terok Nor, in the mission where you have to go to the damaged Cardassian space station because the idiots in the Trueway are using it as a base of operations, and your job is to kick them out.
So, Dragoon, why don't you try duplicating this and make the corridor longer?
The lighting
Since we've got a nice base here.
Yeah.
The lighting for that particular backdrop is special in that it flickers. So it gives you the impression that all of the lights in the facility are just like blinking on and off periodically.
Oh, so that effect also would apply to other lighting sources on the interior map you're using there.
It doesn't actually change what any of the lighting sources do. It makes it so that the background lighting does that.
Yeah.
It feels when you're playing the mission as if the actual lighting sources are flickering, but they're not.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good one for. I've seen a lot of authors kind of use the damaged Federation interior. I think that was like for the Reaper. They'll use that a lot. So using that Terok Nor Cardassian lighting, that would actually be a good choice for that setting.
Another interesting one is the Barge of the Dead backdrop. It applies a volume effect to the map where you have these clouds floating around.
It's always good.
It's part of the backdrop, though. It's not a placeable asset of any kind. It's part of the... And it is literally the entire map. The whole thing. Also, that particular one it's not dark. It's kind of like it's dim, but it's not dark. It's kind of because it's supposed to be like a hazy, smoky overall look, but not like excessively dark. It's actually supposed to be like a semi well lit map that it came from.
I didn't do that right.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to bring down the what you just copied down one little level.
Oh, that reminds me. I made a thing a long time ago as a demonstration of why carefully choosing backdrops is important. Let's see here.
There you go. And just light up the walls. Perfect.
All right. So
one quick thing. I did want to just throw out there for new authors that if you do snap to grid and then a combination of coordinate adjustments, that can be problematic if you then select an object that you did, manually fine tweak and then try to move it according to snap to grid, it'll snap.
If you want to map things or math things, you basically need to turn off snap to grid to make it work properly.
You can actually do both. Because what you can actually here's what I was just trying to point out. If you select a group of objects some of which you have moved around manually, some of which you've snapped to grid. If you click and drag an object that you move manually, that will snap. But, and this includes X, Y, or Y, and this is what happens to me a lot, where it's like, okay, did some Y adjustments, but, move it to snap to grid, those will snap up and down. If you select an object, though, that you only snap to gridded, everything else will stay the same relative to that object. So nothing you've mathed around will actually be modified. So that's something to keep in mind, is that if you're doing these, larger builds, copying a bunch of assets over, moving them around, move around things you've snapped to gridded in terms of which icons you're selecting, because then everything else will stay the same relative to that object. So all the custom work you've done will stay in place.
Interesting.
All right, so I think I've got it as a...
Or a ship. Now the big question is going to be, can you make this curve?
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. I would just stay away from that personally.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Certainly...
yeah, what you can do is basically
difficult.
do kind of like the hub structure, where you have these rules that then allow you to do.
Well, I mean, there's the old method of attempting to fake it by taking a bunch of planes and slowly working your way around, but that doesn't scale very well.
I think what I would do for this is I would just create intersections at right angles.
Yeah.
Easiest way to do it.
Which they actually show in one of those screenshots.
Yeah.
Which we didn't tackle trying to do a intersection, which would have been another task entirely.
Yeah.
The next
Although
thing.
I think once you kind of like combine two of these together, you might have enough of an part of the work's going to already be done. You would just need to add a few more assets to kind of blend things in a little bit.
You just take go right to the middle of that and then delete two of those walls.
Yeah.
And then have a corridor going off at the other direction.
So this is what I was talking about with the snap to grid thing. So you had selected and moved around by icon those floors. So those snapped. So now those are Z fighting. But you see the other floors?
Yeah, those are fine.
Yeah, those are fine.
This one.
And then, of course, the next task would be to figure out a way to do a good door out of the corridor.
Oh, actually, if you just want to put a door, yeah, I mean, if you just put a Kittimer door, basically where those ship supports are, that actually might just do it.
Kittimer door. Which one is that?
New Kittimer.
We don't have those doors, do we?
We do.
Oh,
those
the new one. Okay.
Yeah, the new Kittimer. Not the old Kittimer, but new Kittimer doors.
One of the most recently added things.
Oh, yeah, okay, from the 20 whatever century.
The super useful generic doors. Yeah, I mean, the problem you might run into is that it could be a little narrow, so you might then have to use additional objects to hide the sides. But these are relatively nice to place because basically you'll actually see it both closed and opened once you place it down, so it's easy just basically to visualize. But yeah, new Kittimer doors, really, really useful. Yeah, so basically
we don't have a locked version.
Nope. But you can always just actually, basically, if you want to show, like at the one end of the hallway, there's a closed door and the player's not supposed to be able to go through it. You basically put the new Kittimer door there and then just put an invisible wall prior to the door, like at some point previous to the door being triggered.
Yeah,
so it'll look right.
Weird random invisible wall.
Well, basically, it's just like you'll have a section of hallway, the player won't be able to go down it, and then you've got the invisible wall there. It's like, okay, that's kind of the that's what I'm using for 26th century, because we don't have closed versions of the Enterprise J door, but I still want to have those at the end of the hallway. So yeah, that's what I do.
Wonder if you can just like sync in a building block wall 3. You know how it's got those lines on it?
Oh yeah.
And
Well, yeah, that could work too. Yeah, I'm just saying if you want to get it kind of looking identical.
There's all sorts of neat things you can do when you can just like take one thing and just like precisely place it so you can just barely see it.
You know what? One thing could be is that if you wanted to show that the door's locked and you can't get in it, one of the TOS wall lights is red, and it's just basically a red rectangle.
Yeah, it's like a really, really tiny one.
You put that right at the center, on like basically basically where the doors are coming together. So you have that right in the center, so it looks like there's just a red light there. Yeah,
All
I think
right,
the longer hallway looks really good.
Yeah, it's definitely a good start. You know, a way for
all right, so
people can use this
tally.
technique.
Our build used 146. So you're not going to be building super big corridors here.
No, but like
you do something where you start off in a corridor and you go into a room.
Yeah.
You know, this works for that. Or, you go to 2 rooms off the side of this corridor.
Yeah, I mean, you can, you're not going to, again, do the super elaborate builds, but...
And if you need to go to 2 more rooms on the, that are maybe on another deck, you transition to another map.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys look at that picture I put the link to in the Twitch stream?
Not yet.
Had the different backdrops.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's literally exactly the same map, but just only thing changed is the backdrops.
Well, gentlemen, that runs up against our time limit here. So, Dragoon, if you want to put up our contact info.
All right. We can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at foundryroundtab. Drogon can be reached at Drogon1701. Duncan can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. And I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, happy anniversary event, everyone. It'll be going by the time we do our next one. And
some of us may have new ships, some of us may not. But yeah, hopefully we can do a show someday of, as many crossbow classes we can have in one space.
And all hit the spore drive at once.
Boxes will be opened. RNG rolls will be failed.
Lots of them.
But for now, we will say goodnight.
Good night.